Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Joining you live right here from the home studio. Not a home game for the Gators this week. Go to Baton Rouge, get beat 20-10. Oh, man. It's hard to even know where to start. I mean, we know the biggest headline, DJ Lagway, 5 interceptions. Certainly a storyline there. Wasting another good performance by the defense. Plenty of ways to go with this one, but another disappointing loss right here. Gators starting the season 1-2 with Miami next. The team that just destroyed USF, of course, the team that gave Florida their first loss last week. Game day was already announced. It'll be in Miami next week. So plenty of storylines. Talking about these Gators next Saturday for 3 hours. You know, not all of Florida, of course, but hey, to me, that's probably be a good thing. Put on blast what is going on right now in Gainesville, Florida, because it's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. It's put on repeat right now. I mean, Will texted me not long ago saying, "You just want to replay last year's Texas A&M post game?" Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. Oh, but here we are again, talking about another loss. Yeah, it sucks. It stings, and yeah, you know, all the lies are told all off season. Certainly bought into it. Certainly bought this team would be better than what we have seen under Billy Napier. Certainly thought the start would be better than what we've seen, but all the lies about the experience of this team going to pay off, especially in the trenches. All Lagway in year 2, that was going to make a big difference. Napier catering to the talent a little bit more. There's a lot of talent on this team. I still think there are in some ways, but you know what? You're not getting the most out of it. And look, a lot of this stems from last week, of course. That was an unacceptable loss. To kind of get it all out, that was the first time we were going to do it on the heels of a USF loss. So, I mean, this week, losing to LSU, not completely surprising. I mean, once I saw what I saw last week, of course I reversed course from preseason. Yeah, I thought a couple of weeks ago, thought I was going to march into Baton Rouge and go get a win. After what I saw last week, no, the final score is not a surprise. Florida losing is not a surprise, but just another. This one's kind of new. A turnover-prone quarterback getting you a loss. Now, we can ask ourselves the question, why is there the regression for DJ Lagway? Has he regressed? Yeah, he has regressed. Yes, that is the truth. Now, what are the reasons why? Injury? Sure. All the time missed? Sure. Maybe it's just the offense. Playing in this offense. That's a regression. Even if DJ Lagway didn't miss the time because he was hurt. Maybe if he didn't miss the time because, you know, everything that was going on this offseason, there might have been a regression anyway. I mean, the teams kind of find out what DJ Lagway likes to do in this offense that I think there's not any question now that it's very limited. I held out the hope that DJ Lagway is a special enough quarterback. There's enough talent returning, enough talent you recruited that it can overcome that. Maybe it was never going to overcome it to begin with. And now we've seen a regression where all the time Lagway's missed, that's how you get a 5 interception performance. Some terrible decisions by DJ Lagway. Terrible. I mean, we have to ask ourselves, what? I don't know the answer, but we have to ask the question, why? Was he overhyped? That's a possibility. It's probably going to take me a little longer to get there than him missing. You know, I'm still going to mostly chalk it up to all the time missed. But these are also decisions that, you know what, he wasn't doing these as a freshman. And don't get me wrong, LSU's defense, much improved. Much improved. They baited him into a lot tonight. But I thought he was going to be that player where, okay, you were going to face some good defenses this year. And I thought, okay, you might could overcome that. Nope. Way behind development. 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games for this Gator offense. 1 last week versus USF. 1 tonight versus LSU. 6 interceptions. 2 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. 1 last week, 5 tonight. That's not winning football. Not winning football at all. You're 1-2. Your defense has given up 2 touchdowns in 3 games, and you're 1-2. And a lot of that goes to the first part of that. 2 offensive touchdowns in the last 2 games, 6 interceptions. You can't run the ball or won't run the ball. I think it's a combination of both. So there was the storyline of having to protect Lagway till he got to a certain point this year. Thought we'd be able to lean on the ground game. Thought we'd be able to lean on this offensive line that returned a whole lot of experience. More than anything, that's the most disappointing group. That's the most disappointing aspect of this offense. Florida can't, Florida won't run the ball. Florida won't stick with the run game. That's probably, no, it is. Not probably. It is. That's the most disappointing part for me about this Florida offense. As far as what I thought it would be. Did I always think we could probably question the play calling? Yep. Did I think Lagway might get a little slow start? Sure. But I thought we'd be able to lean on something. Now, they've still found a way to get Jaden Ball involved in this game against LSU in the passing game. That was a nice little wrinkle. But couldn't live and die by that. Not going to live and die by that. That wasn't going to get the game won. All the interceptions on 3rd down, mostly. Critical situations. But an offensive line, you were supposed to, you're bringing back so many pieces. You start a new right tackle tonight. Caden Jones gets to start over Bryce Lovett. All right, maybe that fixes some things. But, no. Something good would happen for the Florida offense. Oh, here comes a holding call. They're struggling. I think it's mental for them too. They're frustrated. Everybody's frustrated. So what lends itself to these bad performances, wasting some good defensive performances. Now, I think with that, LSU was hitting some explosive plays. I think once they got the results of the interceptions and then interception after interception, they could be pretty conservative on offense. They weren't going to test it too much. Now, Nussmeier threw his own ridiculous interception. But that was after an explosive play. They were in LSU territory when that happened. Granted, Florida did have one big touchdown called back. But you're not going to... Yeah, it would have been 10-0 Florida. Maybe the game turns out different. But after what I saw the rest of the time, I can't say that. I can't say that 10-0 lead would have been good enough. Nope. Barone, he's asking where Will is. Me and we'll get back together Monday night. That's what happens. Alex brings up a good point here. Ball only getting 10 touches, an absolute travesty when your quarterback is struggling. Defense held them to 10 points on the road in Death Valley. Other 10 were turnovers. Utter disgrace. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the ground game was getting crazy, but as you said, when your quarterback's struggling, there's got to be an avenue to figure out something. Bull Gator brings up a good point, and it certainly seemed like LSU was confident in what was coming. And part of that is, interceptions on third down because in third and long for Florida, Florida had to pass. LSU knew it. Yeah. Not only did they know Florida had to pass, they knew the type of routes. They knew the depth of the route. They knew they were coming. They knew what was coming. Perfectly baiting Lagway into interceptions where, okay, I don't think that guy's going to be there. You know, somewhere there were some tight coverage throws that Lagway got away with. Some he didn't get away with. But man, going back to something I put on X, on Twitter earlier, at least I had fun telling all the lies in the offseason. That was the funnest part of this quote unquote this season. Had high hopes for this team. Now, a lot of it got crushed last week. And I told you when that happened, yep, I'm not picking Florida versus LSU. I'm not picking Florida versus Miami. Not after what I saw last week. I don't have the optimism and the hope for a team like that, and then you show me what you showed me last week and expect it to be there. You know, I wasn't buying into the whole, Notre Dame lost to NIU last year. Look what they did. Well, Notre Dame also didn't have LSU and Miami and Texas and all the rest of the schedule coming up. But also because last week followed a pattern of what we saw from a Billy Napier coach team. So that hope of turning it around again like late last season, no. So I had fun. I thought this was going to be different. I thought Florida would be a much better team than what we've seen through 3 games. The most fun part about this team were the lies in the offseason. And there weren't truthful lies to get views and get listens. You guys know I don't mix the truth. Do I lean more fan and more orange and blue? Yeah. I've also been too critical. I've been called too critical at times. I mean, I've had it both ways. I like to think in some ways that means I try to be fair. But the fair thing about this team right now is they are not good. They are not good. And a lot of people were saying, well, let's see what USF does against Miami. They just got smashed by Miami. And that's what Florida walks into next week. I got some comments in here saying we're going to beat Miami next week. I would love to have some of that hopium. But it certainly looks like, asking the question here, 5 interceptions. Man, these interceptions. Some, okay, great. I mean, not great, but some, LSU baited you. But a lot of those, they were reading your eyes. You're not coming off your first read. Sometimes you don't have time to come off your first read. So it was just there are many reasons that it would happen. Some of it because, LSU's go pressure. And then I think once the interception started happening, it was just it was an avalanche after that. There was no confidence in coming off the first read. I mean, you started, look, we previewed it last week about this. Okay, let's call some plays to get the ball out of DJ Lagway's hands. Game started out that way. And I thought, okay, I like how they're coming out. I knew LSU was going to pressure all night long. But man, there would be a guy just Lagway just was not expecting to be in coverage. But then even some of those where the guy, at least undercut and would pick the ball off, especially on the pick 6. The initial coverage, the normal coverage, was really close, was really tight. This wasn't an offense, hasn't been an offense that gets players wide open a whole lot. I mean, a lot of the explosive plays would just come, down the field and downfield catches. And it'd be, go back to all the Badger catches last year. Yeah, he'd catch it, he'd get caught. It didn't end up in touchdowns. There's a defender pretty close by. There's not many times where just somebody is wide open. It's just not there. So pair that with an improved LSU defense. Their corners playing confident. It was like knowing they know what's coming. Coverage is tight. That's the first step. They had guys in position. And then they had guys in position to bait DJ Lagway into interceptions. Throwing 5 interceptions. That's hard to do. One reason why, and this is a question here. Why didn't Lagway get benched after the 3rd interception? It's hard to throw 5 picks. You know why? Because most of the time you don't get a chance to throw a 4th or a 5th. Napier saying after the game, Lagway is the quarterback. I'm sticking with him. Let's see. Napier was asked why not give Tramel Jones a look to let DJ settle. Napier's response was, I don't prescribe to that. DJ is our quarterback. He's one of the best in the nation. Keeping on that theme, Napier says he's got to put DJ in better positions and plays to be successful. And Napier says it's important for everyone to understand that DJ Lagway is a young player. He works harder than anyone he's been around. And tonight, quote, isn't indicative of who he is as a teammate or a player. That coming from Nick De La Torre from Florida Victorious. Okay, then we ask ourselves, why is he playing like this? Napier saying, put him in better positions. Yep, I completely agree. That's your job. Make it easy on your quarterback. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible in this offense. Everything looks like it's played on hard mode. If you're a video game fan, I forgot who made the comment in the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord, but it's like, this offense is a Dark Souls game. If you know what that is, yeah, some of the hardest video games you ever play. That's exactly what it's like. There's nothing easy. Even the good plays look hard. Then I just mentioned, there's hardly anybody just running wide open. Are there good plays here and there? Sure. Not enough on a consistent basis. And then with all the injuries and all the time Lagway missed, pair that with those aspects of the offense, and I guess we get a 5 turnover performance. Napier did say, quote, I think we all understand the dynamic here. This was his 4th week of practice. I completely buy the time miss hurt DJ Lagway more than I ever thought it would. But man, also, I can't put it all on that. Some of these reads you just don't make. And I know it's different when the bullets are flying, but there was a whole lot of talk of him gaining the mental reps too. And there was talk from Napier and the staff of, we put him in some good situations. We put him in some good virtual situations. Even the mental part doesn't look like he's taking a step in year 2. I think it's fair to ask the question if defenses figured him out in this offense. I still think DJ Lagway can be good. I honestly do. If he was to go somewhere else, or if somebody else was to come in, I still think there's something there. Now, of course, performances like this, sure my confidence wanes a bit. It puts the question is he? But I'm still going to lean that way. 20-10 LSU. Defense only giving up 13 points. Remember, some of that pick 6 for LSU. This is scary, but Jen brings up a good point. Ball going to be great somewhere else next year. Scary thoughts. Keith. So not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 interceptions. Pretty good defensive performance wasted. Matt S. Yeah, 12 men on the field after a timeout. I mean, after the 0 penalty performance, week 1 versus LIU, it turns out competition had a lot to do with that, huh? 11 last week. And then trying to get the final stat on there, 7 tonight for 57. But it just seemed like when something good would happen, here comes the penalty. Stats tell the story a little bit about this game. Let me get those up. Because now I know a lot of you don't prescribe to this, and I don't either. But, Florida in some ways, because of the defensive performance, yeah, I guess you could say outplayed LSU in some ways. DJ Lagway, 33 of 49. You had 49 attempts. He can throw for 300 yards, 287 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. Jaden Ball, 10 attempts, 46 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. Jacoby Jackson, the next running back, of course, 7 attempts, 13 yards. Only about 2 yards a carry. Lagway with 9 for 19. Duke Clark getting a carry too. Oh, receiving to tell a little bit of a story. Vernell Brown III. Hey, no issue with him leading the way. 8 attempts, 62 yards. He had a long of 16. He was targeted 13 times. Certainly has found it to be one of DJ Lagway's favorite targets. No issue there. 42 yards after the catch for him. But don't think you're going to win many games when Jaden Ball and Hayden Hanson are your second and third leading receivers. Jaden Ball, 7 for 59. Hey, I like that wrinkle tonight. Don't mind that wrinkle whatsoever. You knew LSU was going to bring the pressure. You needed to get the ball out of Lagway's hands. Most of the time when Ball had a reception, it was positive yards and pretty good yardage. But pair that with Hayden Hanson being your third, targeted 8 times, 7 for 50. Look, that's nothing against Hayden Hanson, but come on. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Of course, it's because there's nothing down the field. Either Lagway won't pull the trigger, can't pull the trigger. There's not enough time to pull the trigger. It's all that. It's all that. Receivers can't get open, or receivers are open, can't get the ball to them for whatever reason. Lagway just doesn't throw it. There's no time to throw it. I thought the offensive line started out okay. And then as the game went on, just didn't hold up. But more importantly for me on that regard, just can't open up anything in the run game on a consistent basis. And that's what I thought they'd be able to hang their hat on. Pass blocking was always going to be a worry for me. Keep going down here for the receiving. J. Michael started event for 3. He was targeted 9 times. 3 catches for 43. Had a long of 18. Certainly not the downfield threat we thought. Aiden Mizell had the 2 best catches of the game. 1 for the only touchdown of the game. 3 for 41. He had a long of 22. The 2 best catches of the game, and I did not see him in the rotation enough, if that's what we were going to get from Aiden Mizell. DJ Lagway's best throw of the season, that fade route to Mizell for the touchdown. But then that was even followed up with Florida's next possession, if I'm not mistaken, was the possession before halftime. Billy Napier rarely gets aggressive. And that's when Lagway throws the interception. Right before halftime, gives LSU a field goal going into halftime. Went from his best throw to one of his worst throws in back-to-back possessions. Tony Livingston, 2 catches. Trey Wilson, 2 for 10. Can't get him involved at all. Nothing down the field for him. He had a long of 8. 17 yards after the catch for him. Jaden Ball's yards after the catch, 70, by the way. So there's your story on offense. But then that's also kind of the story on defense. Part of the story of the game is on defense. Nussmeier, 15 to 27, 221 touchdown, 56% completion percentage. Not sacked. Remember the game last year? Florida lived in the backfield. A much better LSU offensive line. Caleb Banks comes back tonight, played okay. But Florida with only 3 tackles for loss, had no sacks. The LSU ran 52 plays. Florida ran 76. That's about opposite from what we saw last year. Some ways, the game was just complete opposite of last year. Florida having the ball a bit more. Now, LSU last year didn't turn the ball over like Florida and Lagway did this year. But as far as possessions, number of plays, opposite of last year. Caden Durham, 15 carries for 93 yards. He had 6.2 yards a carry. He had a 51-yarder toward the end of the game. Kind of very similar to LSU last week. Really couldn't run the ball, but hit some runs late. So down for down, LSU still struggling to run the ball. He had 25 rushes. Durham had 15 of those. Aaron Anderson, 4 catches, 75 yards. He had 31, 55 yards after the catch. Thomas for LSU, 4 for 35. He had the 1 touchdown. Barry and Brown, only 2 for 26. Like I said, Florida defense held him in check. Played good enough to win the game. Like I said, the field goal before halftime because of a terrible interception by DJ Lagway. Another some touchdowns called back. But still not just with the way we see this offense. They can't overcome anything. They can't overcome anything bad. The margin for errors are thin. Oh, High Desert Gators says, haven't played winning football in 7 years. Yeah, I didn't realize going into this game until somebody had asked me on Twitter about Florida on the road. Florida hasn't beat a ranked team on the road since 2018 at Mississippi State. And we know that team didn't finish the season ranked, but you get the credit for when it happened. That's the last ranked win on the road for the Gators. Right of the line. What remaining games on the schedule are wins? I can't say any for sure. And I know people say, you're just down in the dumps. You can't be that critical team. Yes, I can. After last week, I knew USF will get too much credit. Called it last week. They will get pretty much beat by Miami. And the game wasn't even going to be close. And that's exactly what happened. USF is better for their standards. They're not that good of a team. Boise's down. Florida's obviously down. They play a good team and got rocked. Down to down. USF's not good. They just hit a couple of plays last week. Since Florida can't score, that was enough. But I heard Greg McElroy talking about it on the broadcast, saying, hey, the way Florida plays, he still believes in DJ Lagway. Like I said, I do too. Still believes, Florida will be a hard out this year when they line up against teams. I can see that. I can't see that. But at the same time, that's a different story than asking me what games on the schedule are wins. I don't know. Florida could beat Miami and then lose to Kentucky. Florida could beat Texas and lose to Mississippi State. I do not know. Florida could lose all the rest of them. They ain't winning the rest of them. But at this point, I'd be shocked. Well, no, I would not be shocked if Florida lost out. I don't think they will, but if it happened, I wouldn't be shocked after what I've seen. I keep waiting. I still think it's there for flip the switch for DJ Lagway. So that's why I don't think Florida goes winless along the way. But it's on the table. It is on the table. On third down, LSU 4 of 14, Florida 6 of 17. Yards per play, 4.8 for the Gators, 6.1 for LSU. 2.9 yards a rush for the Gators, 3.8 for LSU. I mean, it was not a good offensive game for either team. Just one team took care of the ball, the other didn't. Oh, okay, let's see. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but kind of the Lagway passing chart here. 33 of 49, 67%, 287, one touchdown, 5 interceptions, of course. See, the longest was 25 yards. That was the longest completion. I mean, just another game, third game now. Nothing down the field. And that was a pass to Jaden Ball, by the way, that was a catch and run. So, nothing that he's hitting down the field besides a 22-yard catch to Aiden Mizell. His longest streak of completions. One, two, three, four, five, six. What's his longest streak of completions? Just not a good performance. Not a threat with his legs at all. Lost that aspect of his game. Certainly due to injury. Certainly due to probably packing on some weight due to the injury. Definitely not as mobile as he should be, could be. See a lot of talk about fire Napier. That's not happening until I think the soonest would be after Miami, and that going into the first bye week. If you ask me now, would they do it then? I don't think they would. Probably wait till the bye week before Georgia. So I wouldn't. Now, it can get ugly next week, and that might force their hand. I still think the administration plays it pretty conservative. And just, I don't know. I know a lot of people will believe it to give Napier another chance to work his way out of it. To me, you got to earn that right. Now, the way they look at it might be like, well, he earned it last year. He earned that in the 4-game winning streak at the end of the year. Okay, well, I hate to be that guy. How impressive was that winning streak? Now going back and looking at it, it might be some revisionist history. We can ask the question. It certainly didn't set Florida up, did it? It definitely lives in its own bubble now because it didn't translate. It didn't bleed over. Certainly give you a lot of credit for that Ole Miss win still, because I still think that Ole Miss team was really good. But now I think we do ask ourselves the questions. Was it really so much the injuries for why we saw Lagway struggle versus the FSU and Tulane? So actually Tulane had some time to study some film on him, played a lot of drop coverage, held him in check. A lot of what we're seeing from teams this year, put the blueprint out. So that's why I think the injury thing can be somewhat of an excuse, because you knew that was going to be the case for DJ Lagway. You knew that was going to be the case for this offense this year. That there were certain aspects he needed to get better at. And he was not able to do that. I still thought he'd be able to do some of the things last year that would help carry until he found it. A stronger running game, but then that would enable him to at the very least, do the things he did last year. Because that was good enough in some ways. Good enough to get a win over LSU. Good enough to get a win over Ole Miss. And then as the season went on, as he got more time, he'd get better in the mid-range. He'd get better in those aspects. And that still might be the case. But that's probably what we better hope that's what we're looking at. Going the Bull Gator here, hard to say if Lagway is not good. He's being coached by someone who plays the game on hard mode. His quarterback coach is clearly not helping him. And his wide receivers are getting no separation. Yeah, but I think it is fair to say DJ Lagway has regressed. I think it's unfair to say that it's all on him. It might be down the road. I don't know if we'll ever really know, honestly. I think many people will put it on Napier, will put it on this offense. Like, does the offseason make it where he doesn't regain it? Then maybe we ask ourselves the question, if you can't even get to the level you were last year, maybe that's where we start asking the question. I see the Gator Nation 2.0 did say, what? We passed like 37 times. Lagway was 33 of 49, so 49 times. I'm going to have to go back and track it again. I remember this was something I was doing with AR, and I believe in Mert's first season. Like anytime, now this was back then, so I haven't kept up with it. Anytime a quarterback threw over 30 times in a Billy Napier offense, it meant a loss. And I was just hoping that that would not be the case with how you have recruited, who you had at quarterback. I thought in my best of ideas that, okay, you've recruited receiver a little bit. I like what you've recruited there. I like the speed you've recruited there. You got Lagway. I thought there was a chance you could open up the offense a bit more. Not there yet. And now the running game is just nowhere near where I thought it would be. That's how you're 1-2. That's how you've seen an offense put up 2 touchdowns in 2 games, in the last 2 games. Nothing I thought you'd be able to count on or even adjust to is there. So it's probably something I'll have to go back and look at. Sorry, you don't want Lagway throwing 49 times. Guinea, I'm sorry. Offense too complicated for everyone to comprehend. Even the position coach is struggling. Entire night, not a single soul on that sideline knew what LSU was doing on defense. Maybe they kind of did too, and that's, Lagway, doing what he did. Look, I think some of it's frustration too now, and forcing some of that. That last one, I don't know if he was trying to throw it out of bounds or not, but it certainly seemed, if he wasn't, certainly seemed like a frustration interception. But I think that lends itself. I think that lends into what we're seeing a little bit as well. I think he's frustrated with what he's putting out there on the field right now. Eliwa Hamishi. Hope I'm saying that right. Tried to tell y'all, take a wait and see approach. Anything connected to Billy Napier is going to flop. Feel sorry for Gator Nation. Y'all deserve better. Richard Hawkins, Napier program and QB destroyer as well. Muddy Waters. I'm just waiting for Scott Strickland for the third year in a row to have an early press conference on how Billy is the guy and always will remain the guy. Man. Old Bass, I'm sorry, Dave. I know you care about this. So do I. This game was winnable. Napier and Lagway are a packaged group of boy. Okay. Family-friendly show here. Hey, if you guys know me, I cuss with the best of them off the air. But try to keep it family-friendly for everybody out there. So he says it's time to restart and hope for the best once again. And Mr. Cheesecake says, even Vanderbilt is 3-0. Yes, they are. Yep. Wacky. That's another thing. That is another thing about this whole thing right now. The SEC is so there. We saw Georgia and Tennessee play a classic today. But certainly, Georgia with the slow start, Tennessee with the fast start. Tennessee should have been kicking a game-winning field goal. They miss it. Georgia wins in overtime. Texas struggling a good bit with UTEP, I believe it was. Vanderbilt beating South Carolina. Now I know Lenore Sellers got knocked out with a concussion, but Vandy's 3-0. Texas has got a lot of questions. Bama still got some questions. It's there. And Texas A&M now, just one reason I was late coming on a bit was trying to watch the end of that Notre Dame game. They get a 1-point win there. I think it's a really good win. But man, there's nobody dominant. May not be anybody dominant in the whole country. I mean, LSU is ranked number 3, and you give them 5 interceptions to win this game 20-10. People are thinking high Clemson. It's got to be by Georgia Tech. I mean, it was there that was another reason. Another reason why this is so disappointing. Another reason we were so optimistic about a team like Florida that could make a run. Yeah, we know you don't recruit at the highest of levels, but with the returning talent you had, and now what we see, I do think, is a compressed college football right now. And you're not taking advantage whatsoever. You've gotten worse. You're not taking advantage whatsoever. And it is right there for the taking. It could not be, the script could not have been any better for Billy Napier. This type of year was the one you needed to take advantage of. And look, maybe it is a rough spot for him and because his quarterback gets hurt. But you know what? We haven't seen enough elsewhere to believe now that you were ready to take advantage. Could it be bad luck? Sure. But that's not all it is. That's not all it is. It was there. It is there. It's nothing. I'm assuming that's what the username is. My biggest issue with this offense is how there's no separation from this extremely talented receiver room. So even when there was time to pass, everyone was blanketed. That's what I'm saying. It's not consistent. I mean, and that ultimately falls down to coaching. You got to put your players in position. Ultimately, after what we've seen for now 4 seasons, it ultimately comes down to coaching. And yes, this is just an offense that's played on hard mode. There's nothing easy about it. Nothing whatsoever. Mike M., offensive line, totally overrated. No way that Slaughter is an All-American. He's a nice kid, but not an All-American. No, he was last year. He played good last year. Definitely not living up to it this year. But it's him getting called for penalties. Austin Barber getting called for penalties. Guys that have played a ton of football. And we're seeing this. My questions now, what was the, and this is the second year in a row we can ask the questions. What were we doing all off season? What were we doing in practice this past week? You know what Billy Napier says and what coaches say all the time, but he's repeated it a whole lot? You are what you practice. Well, you know what we've seen on the field the last 2 weeks? You tell me, you show me what we're doing in practice. Because if it's what we've seen the last 2 Saturdays, it's crap. And I told you guys all week long, I was not buying into the whole back against the wall mentality because you're not selling me on that right now. I'm probably going to hear more of it this week. Lip service. Sean Abel. So Florida has as many losses as touchdowns allowed this season. Muddy Waters, good point too. Close the iPad there. UT and UCLA traded quarterback. Can we trade with UCLA and get Nico? I take him over Lagway in a heartbeat. I won't go that far with it. But what I will do is credit that Tennessee staff. I mean, you got a guy who's been on campus, 2-3 months, and mostly ready to play today. Now, he had his struggles after a great start. Did Aguilar there for Tennessee. But certainly did enough for Tennessee to win the game. Sam Atkinson, give Vandy credit. They're putting up points and dubs against some decent teams. Vandy isn't a joke this year. Yeah, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, South Carolina, I don't know how good they are. Barely beat Virginia Tech. Let me put it this way. For Vanderbilt, yes, absolutely. Another thought here, but opposite. Jordan Abba, O-line is good. I don't think so, but okay. Play calling is horrendous. Yeah. Lagway's officially not what we thought. I feel bad for our defense most of all. Billy is cooked. All right, let me scroll. I know there's a ton. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. And Rick H says, what happened to Mizell, who was making catches first quarter or first half? In the second half, we didn't hear his name, or I didn't. Yeah, I just didn't remember seeing him on the field a whole lot. Had the 2 best plays of the night in the passing game. Nate says, Dave, have you seen how angry Brian Kelly was with the LSU media team? Wow. I did not. I came on live here pretty much not long after the game. So if it happened there, I don't know. Another thing, Lane Kiffin's a hot name when we get into hot board and coaching season. But backup quarterback, he was ready to go against an SEC foe, Arkansas. I got to get to the starred comments. They just showed up. I'm sorry, guys. I am completely sorry. Reese Williams says our defense has only allowed 3 touchdowns, I think. Colton Silcox says guarantee fire Billy signs at game day. Yeah, there were some jokes on the game day signs today. Reese Williams, do they not practice with pads on? Gator Nation 2.0, slowest tempo on offense I've ever seen. It drives me nuts. I get what they think they're doing, but this whole almost kind of show tempo, get up to the line of scrimmage, and then, all right, let's slow down. Let's look to the sideline. Okay, now we'll adjust. Let's do the predictable. Oh, okay. We'll motion the tight end to the line of scrimmage now. Okay, all right. Now we're ready. Yeah. Animal asks, you think Napier is going tomorrow or after Miami game? I do not. I won't say not because he shouldn't be. There's no way they're firing him after, there's no way they're firing him tonight, tomorrow. They're just not. I don't think it'll be next week either. I think if the move is made during the season, I think it'll be the bye week before Georgia or, after the Mississippi State game. Sam Fowler says, Lane, Gruden, Campbell, Key, or any good coach in the Power Four. All miles ahead of what we have. Napier runs a clinic on how not to coach a game. Certainly some names out there that we've been kind of tossed around in the last week or so. Jonathan Goodwin with 287 receiving yards and 180 yak. Our yards from routes is only 100 from 33 completions, which puts us at an average of 3 yards a route. Yeah, it's been a pretty conservative offense. And that's just not what I thought we'd be getting with DJ Lagway. Just not what I thought we'd be getting. Everybody, thanks for those starred comments there, super chat comments. Hey, everybody, hit that like button. I know I didn't say that at the beginning of the episode. That could help a little bit. Oh man. It's not a lot of good to talk about. Hobby Billionaire. He will be fired before the Georgia game. Oh, yep. Vaughn says, Gators Drywall is a perfect sponsor for this season. Well, hey, thanks for shouting out the sponsor there. Thanks for shouting them out for sure. Why not? Proud sponsor of the show is Gator Drywall of Duval. We'll give them some more notice. Bringing it up in the comment section, so we do that. We do it. Gators looking rough once again. Looking really rough. Just like those popcorn cylinders in my house. I've heard these people like these ad reads. But yep, somehow still got the popcorn cylinders in my house. So I'm getting rid of them. Outdated, of course. And I'm partnering with Gator Drywall of Duval. They're going to help me out here. Transforming homes in the Jacksonville area. About 25 years. They're coming. I got them scheduled. Scheduled during the bye week. I guess how we got to do it around here on Gators Breakdown. So they're going to come. Get rid of these popcorn ceilings. They do it all, guys. New construction to repairs, drywall installation, finishing, texturing, and yes, popcorn ceiling removal. Take care of every detail from start to finish. No headaches, no surprises. Get the quality craftsmanship from Brandon and his team there. So I'll be sharing my journey there, before and afters. You'll be able to see them. But getting rid of those outdated ceilings with the experts at Gator Drywall of Duval. Give them a call if you're in the Jacksonville area, 904-793-2088. Or get more info at gatordrywallofduval.com. Brandon was actually texting me during the game a little bit. He's frustrated as well. We'll get through it. We'll get through it. We'll get through it together coming up soon, Brandon. Joshua Rouse says you and Will should do instant reactions after games. I think he normally he used to do his own with reading reactions. So and Patreon on their Patreon. So not sure. And then when I'm at the game and doing it after the game too from the stadium, schedule's kind of up in the air. So I don't really want to keep Will on hold or kind of waiting on me or anything. Dino Will says Gators beat themselves again 2 weeks in a row. Could easily be 3-0. They threw 5 picks, one of them a pick 6. We only lose 20-10. Plenty of opportunities to win the game. Kept giving the ball up. That is true too. I mean, they didn't really talk about it like that, but there were plenty of chances. Plenty of chances for Florida. Well, I mean, the game started, what, three and outs for the defense? That would have almost led itself to that 10-0 start. If it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, that holding call was bogus. No Najee Harris. I mean, after a loss here, I've kind of glossed over that a little bit, but that was not holding. So it should have been 10-0. But going back and watching the game now, I don't think that makes a huge difference in the game. I think Florida still finds a way to lose. I think the only way the game turns out different, up 10-0 there, is maybe you start leaning on the ground game a little bit more. But at the same time, I'm giving the defense the credit because it is what we actually saw. I do think LSU, while they were hitting some explosives too, I think once they started getting the interceptions, they weren't pressing too much on offense. Yeah, but if Florida's up 10-0, goes a little more conservative. Lagway's not throwing that many times. Maybe it ends itself in a close win. But that's just not how the game played out, so it doesn't matter. Rick H, this is the biggest question for me too. And I said this week. I think I was on a few radio shows this week, so I'm trying to remember how I said it. Rick H says, I think our defense is very good. The problem is, how do they keep their momentum up and their attitude up when you got the offense screwing everything up and keeping them on the field? It's a good question. And I kind of looked at that too with Lagway. So let's go to your point first. That's a very valid point. At what point? Now, it used to be the other way around. You know, Billy Napier's first couple of years, it was the offense was playing mostly good enough to win games, but the defense was going to let down. Well, okay, the offense still didn't really lose their ways. The defense just never came around until the end of last year. Okay, but say defense keeps playing well enough. This offense slowly starts to find their way, but you're still losing games. Where's the mindset of the team if Lagway does figure it out? When he figures it out? What's the mindset of the rest of the team then? Are they already checked out by the time Lagway finds himself? That's a scary proposition. Okay, well, Lagway's finally playing better, but the defense is now not playing to the level we expect them to play or could be playing. There's a lot of weird ways the season could go. I hope I'm saying this right. I hope it's Javi Billionaire or Javi, but Javi, I'm going with Javi. I hope it's right, man. He can't start DJ next week against Miami because something is clearly wrong with DJ. We all can see it. We finally have a defense, and now our offense suck. Well, kind of going to the point I just made. I think they stick with him. I know I've gotten asked a question because, now, that's the fourth game of the season. So I know a lot of people ask about red shirt and all that stuff to keep red shirt. And I think the only way that happens is if he decides to have some type of surgery. Lagway start next week. I'd be shocked if he's. That's one thing that would shock me, is if he's not starting next week. Everybody, thanks for those donations. Cody, man, thank you so much as well. I wish it was better. I wish the topic was better. Justin Kersey brings up a good point. In this new world of NIL, DJ makes too much money to bench. Milky Way goes follows that up. We won't bench DJ until he gets injured. We are stuck with him. You know how much money they're paying him in NIL? I mean, it's an aspect of college football now. Now, here's the one thing I do think. He has a much shorter leash next week. I do think he's starting, by the way. To me, I can't sit and lean on he missed so much time and then not give him the time. give him the reps. Now, there's going to have to be a threshold at some point as well. Is it going to be him just using this to figure it all out at the detriment for the rest of the team? I don't know. Especially if behind the scenes there is some play where you think it can be better with another option. Now, if he keeps turning the ball over, it doesn't matter if the guy's a playmaker or not. You can't keep turning the ball over. So I think the leash is going to get shorter. It has to get shorter. You can't keep shooting your own self in the foot. That's just, you cannot keep turning the ball over. That's the cardinal sin. You can't do it. Oh, all right. Guys, I will eventually get to coaching talk. I'm not getting there. I'm not getting there yet. When it happens, plenty of time to talk about it. It happened last year, and I still didn't really dive into it a whole lot of who's the next guy. It will eventually be brought up. But not going that far yet. Perry Lockhart. Lagway is not good this year. Defense is good. I don't think Napier can be hung for simply losing. It's DJ's fault. If we had a decent QB, we would have won. Maybe QB2 in just to make a point to DJ. Maybe something like that, but at the same time, Napier's choosing to play Lagway. It is year 4. I'm sorry. It is on Napier. It is on Napier. Your team, your roster. As I said, I thought you might be able to lean on a run game a little bit more. Lean on this offensive line a little bit more. You can't do that. That's on you too. If it's the players, these are your players. Everything eventually falls on the head coach's shoulders. If the team isn't ready, if the team doesn't live up to expectations, if the players aren't playing good, it is your job to make them play good, put them in position to play good. Justin Kersey, DJ has regressed so much. I just can't figure it out. It doesn't seem physical. I think some of it might be, but yeah, it is more mental. This certainly what it looked like. I mean, these interceptions tonight certainly weren't physical. Then an angle to it might just be what Stone Angel says, DJ is young and not being developed. That's part where I go, it is hard to be developed when you're not out there practicing. Okay. That'll do it, guys. 20-10 LSU. One thing I hate about this is we don't really. We can talk losses, but we're not talking about the game aspect so much. I like actually talking about the game itself. What happened in the game. And this now, just because of where we're at, almost everything is big picture. Now we recap the game a little bit, looking at the stats and all that, but the storyline is another loss, and what does it do? What is the big picture? It's hard, and just to concentrate on the actual game itself, which is what I love doing. Cody Sims. Thank you, Cody. Obviously, the first time trying Super Chat, the 10th times 2. Thanks much. With some text this time. Thanks for what you do, Dave. This program is an abomination right now, and you are a bright spot of following it. Yeah, thanks, man, Cody. I wish it was much better. I started Gators Breakdown in 2016. 9th year, 10th season covering Florida in this capacity. Just haven't had a whole lot of good to talk about. Stinks that way. Certainly wish we could have some good to talk about. There was some good years in the Mullen years. And that wasn't sustainable. Got excited for Billy Napier. This coming into this year was some of the most excited that I've been. And here we are after 3 games. Oof. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Going about an hour here after LSU beats Florida 20-10. Wish we were talking about a win. Wish we could be talking about, the game and a good game. Oh Lord, I don't need to get in that Mullen conversation. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't recruiting good. It was not recruiting good enough for it to be sustainable at all. And never mind the fact he really didn't want to be here. Is it sustainable with a coach who doesn't really want to be here and doesn't want to recruit? Nope. That's all I'll say. There's no sense in rehashing all that. But I brought it up. So, but it was because give some credit for some fun times under Dan Mullen. But that was about it. All right, there we go. Guys and girls out there, stinks again. Another stinker. Gators 1-2 on the season. LSU 20, Florida 10. And that'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown.